Hi, this is Randy Randall of No Age and host of the podcast Hyphenate with Randy Randall. I want to welcome our newest sponsor of the show, DistroKid. DistroKid helps musicians get their music on all the major streaming platforms, and artists keep 100% of their royalties. Hyphenate listeners get 30% off at distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate. Again, that's distrokid.com/VIP/HYPHENATE. Go get your music streaming everywhere now.
I keep telling people I want to write a book called So You Want to Open a Studio, because it's like, it really is one of the stupidest things to do.
Yo, what's happening? Thank you so much for tuning in to Hyphenate with me, Randy Randall. Today is Thursday, August 29th. That's it. August is about ready to go into the history books. Today, I am so stoked and so honored to present my conversation with the one and only Mr. Larry Crane. For those of you that don't know Larry Crane, he runs an incredible Bible of home recording and DIY recording called Tape-Op Magazine. This has been a hugely influential publication in my life. It was the first sort of time understanding that people were making records in places outside of traditional, expensive, big studios. And that not only was it okay, but it was actually good and could be celebrated. And there was a conversation to be had around it, to not be ashamed. I first got a 4-track, I think in 1994. And I still have the same 4-track. And it was, I really felt like, I'm just a nerdy kid in my bedroom messing around. And then discovering Tape-Op Magazine, as I realized there's a lot of nerdy adults still messing around. There's actually cool bands. And what I was doing that I thought was inconsequential or amateur hour was actually right on track with what some of my favorite artists and musicians were doing at the same time. So it was really a point of validation, but also a point of inspiration that has served as a guiding light and a place, for experimentation and research and just that general sort of like, keep going. You're doing great things. Look at this. Check this out. Have you heard about this? Have you tried that? Look at this person's name. Look at that person's name. Go dig further. I think I've discovered countless professionals, producers, mixers, bands, equipment, just gone down so many rabbit holes that began or could at least all be traced back to Tape-Op Magazine. So that's primarily where I know Larry Crane from. But he also, on top of that, fitting to the theme of the show, Hyphenate, he also runs his own studio in Portland, Oregon that he created, and we'll get into it with singer-songwriter Elliott Smith, and has been a producer, engineer, collaborator with Elliott Smith on a lot of records, and is still to this day part of the family archive that keeps Elliott's music sounding good and out there for people to enjoy and to listen to. So he's still part of that legacy. So if you enjoy Elliott Smith, this could be a very interesting conversation for you as well. He's got a lot of personal firsthand accounts of working with Elliott on these records, as well as his own story. I mean, it's really one of those funny things, it shouldn't be a surprise. I mean, I've talked to so many people here going on just a little over a year with this podcast, but the things I'm a fan of, in terms of the music or, the artwork or the writings or just the general creative output from people, when I am lucky enough and fortunate enough to get the opportunity to talk to these people, I really like these people. Go figure what a big surprise that is, that I find a lot of kinship and a lot of inspiration and a lot of like similarities. I think Larry's story is fascinating and kind of very punk and very DIY and very down to earth. And it's, all of those sort of things that have become core tenets of my own being on a good day, that hopefully I embody any one of those things at any point, is a goal for me, or I could pass that on. But Larry, super cool, rock anchor of Pacific Northwest music, and really a cheerleader and champion, for small bands and for, up and coming bands and cool bands and just, general do it yourselfness. I think Larry, is that person, and I think, and Tape Op is sort of that place. If you're interested, you should go to, what is it? tapeop.org. Is that what it is? What is tapeop.com, of course. And, it's free to subscribe. It's so cool. I mean, it's been one of my favorite things, to get is a new issue of Tape Op magazine. They also have a great podcast that Larry does that you can subscribe to and listen to. But yeah, go to tapeop.com and you can subscribe. What's the latest thing? Free subscription forever. Free of charge forever. 1 year, 6 issues of Tape Op delivered digitally to your inbox and good old paper magazine to your physical mailbox if you live in the US. It's amazing. And the back set, the back issues are incredible. Like, it was the kind of thing too, when, we were lucky enough to get to spend some time in recording studios. I found them, just always littered around the control room or in the bathroom or somewhere. But it's that fun sort of thing when you go, oh, hey, have you seen this issue of Tape Op? Have you seen that one? And it's, always cool and always inspiring. It's it's kind of the way Thrasher is the Bible to skateboarding. Tape Op is the Bible to, DIY independent music recording and artists. So Larry deserves all the applause and awards for any do-it-yourselfers out there. And just really, you'll hear in the interview, he's very, very humble, very down to earth. But also, you can go to his he's available to be booked. Or his studio is available. What do I want to make sure I have that correct? This is Jackpot Studios, not to be confused with Jackpot Records, as I did in the interview. But if you go to jackpotrecording.com, you can see the studio and you can contact him. And he's in Portland, Oregon. You should go record there. It's very affordable. What does he have here on the website? Studio day rate, $350 without engineer. You can do hourly rates, engineer rates, bring your own engineer, pre-session tape deck calibration. Oh my gosh. Tape transfers if you have cool stuff. If you want to work on cool equipment that Elliott Smith worked on, you can go to jackpotrecording.com. Go up to Portland. That'd be fun. I'd like to make a record up at Jackpot in Portland. Speaking of which, once you make this cool record, or once I make my cool record at Jackpot Studios up in Portland, Oregon, I could use DistroKid and use the promo code. We'll go to DistroKid /VIP/Hyphenate to get a discount on getting my music up on all the streaming platforms. And you should do it. They're a sponsor and they're awesome. You know what I mean? It's part of that whole DIY music aesthetic. You don't need a label. Just record your own stuff. Go to DistroKid, sign up, and get your music out there. It's worth doing, and you get a little bit of a break if you use the /VIP/Hyphenate. And yeah, you know what I mean? Get up there. Why not? How hard could it be? Make a cool record? Now, what are you going to do? Put it up yourself. Do it yourself. What I always used to have another thing like do it for me. DIFM is the opposite of DIY. But Tape Op, Jackpot Studios, DistroKid, that's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich right there of all things good and and punk and doing it yourself. So without further ado, here's my conversation with the one and only legendary Larry Crane. Thank you so much, Larry, for coming on the show. It's truly an honor to get to speak to you. Larry, thanks so much for jumping on Hyphenate. I'm so happy to see you. It was great running into you in Portland a few weeks back when No Age was up there playing.
That was super cool. I when I looked at the calendar, I was like, these guys can't be playing this street festival. I'm like, I know who this is. These guys, what? Why are they? They must be on a tour. And then you ran into me and you're like, yeah, we just popped up here for this. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Cannibal Ox was playing too. And it was a cool show.
The -5 Team Dresch. I mean, how cool is that? Peter Buck now, did you just see the reunion, the news, REM just played a
What?
show in New York last night. I mean, this will be dated. This is probably going to come out
No
a few weeks from
way.
now. Yeah, they played.
Well,
I know, right? He must have been
interesting.
sitting on it that day. He must have known. They must have been rehearsing or doing something.
He's pretty quiet.
He is. Yeah, it was great to meet him, but yeah, I didn't get much out of him. I was asking about guitars. I figured he had an extensive guitar collection. I was like, "What'd you bring out of the vaults? What are we going to see today?" And he's like, "Well,
I think there's still a warehouse down in Athens full of stuff. Honestly, I think that's what I've been told.
All the Rickenbackers. That's where all the Rickenbacker vintage things are.
That's where they all went.
All the mandolins and Ricks are just sitting somewhere.
Oh man!
Hopefully they're not getting moldy in the.
That's such
humidity.
That band is such an important band for the kind of music that we've been involved in.
Oh my God! Right?
They really were someone that broke through early on, and really said like, no, we're just a band that does things our way. Is 4 people collaborating. Great producers like Mitch Easter, Don Dixon, and a lot of people back in the day. Scott Litt, of course, Don Gaiman. Joe Boyd, sorry, another one. Worked with really great people, really just focused on being a collaborative, kind of more of an art experiment than a way a typical rock band to be run,
Yeah. But, and for it to just, I think, then it's like a band for a generation or voice of a generation, you know what I mean? I think that really sort of defined that pre-Nirvana sort of alternative college rock, proto, they're like the Ramones for grunge in the sense of like they did it before it was the thing. They didn't know it was called punk before when they were punk. They were cool before it was cool. It'd be cool.
I mean, it's taking all those influences like the Byrds and Patti Smith and all these different things that Peter always talks about. And Pylon would be another one.
Oh yeah.
And mashing them up into something new that was kind of their weird little take on post-punk, new wave, etc.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's that British, by way of California, by way of, back to England, back to America, to now in the South.
Yeah.
The Southern sort of like take on all that too, which is great.
Yeah, hey kids, the folk tradition is real. It's a real thing.
Awesome. Well, we could gab about REM for hours, but I wanted we're here to talk about you. You are a multi hyphenate at the highest level. I mean, that's sort of what it's a loose excuse for me to get to talk to heroes and people I look up to. I figured everybody's a multi hyphenate in this day and age, but you really that shingle hangs large over you. I mean, you were known in doing just quick cursory, research, editor, which I love is just a term like, oh yeah, he's an editor. It's sort of, you sound like J. Jonah Jameson at the Daily Bugle. Yeah. Like editor, founder, tape op.
I've got a cigar.
Yeah. Give me the pictures. The spider.
So editor and founder of Tape Op magazine. That started in 1996.
Yep.
Owner
of Jackpot Records.
Oh yeah,
and then independent
Jackpot Recording Studios.
Jackpot Recording Studios. Sorry, Jackpot Recording Studios.
That happens all the time because my friend Isaac opened a record store with a similar name within 9 months of my studio.
Unrelated. Those are not related. I figured you
had
a part in that. Oh my God, how does that?
No,
happen?
we're friends.
Okay, well, all right.
His brother
you must be, or else you'd punch him in the mouth.
Yeah, it could have happened. No, he's so nice. So Isaac Slusarenko owns the record store.
Okay.
And his brother Nate Slusarenko and his other brother Chris Slusarenko had bands for years.
Okay.
Chris has played with Guided by Voices, and he does he's in that band called Eyelids right now with John Moen, who's also in the Decemberists.
Yeah.
So his brother Nate was the drummer that Nate and Chris played in different bands for years, and he named the store Jackpot. And Nate and Chris had recorded in my basement studio.
Okay.
Before that. Yeah. So we knew each other real well, and they thought that I'd kept the basement studio name, but I hadn't.
Oh, so there's some parallel thinking going on around the time.
Yeah. And when I opened the studio, they were on tour in Europe because I'd actually volunteered to be their bass player for that tour, but
how funny.
The bass player was able to do it. Yeah. So that's how intertwined all this shit is. Okay. So
God bless the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. Oh my God. Right.
And then,
the
independent producer and independent, mixing, and also educator. I saw as well. You do have a great lesson plan and sort of an outreach sort of program for education and teaching people, passing on the knowledge. You're not keeping it all to yourself.
It's pretty pretty loose on that front. I have a bunch of videos on LinkedIn.com, which used to be called Lynda, LYNDA.com. And I have 12 hours of recording videos there, which I haven't been adding to, since, I don't know, 2018 or something, 2019, I guess, was the last videos I did. So I have all those available out there. And then I do things like I'll go to schools and talk, and I'll also do like one-on-one consults and different things like that. But it's not the biggest part of my career, to be honest. It's kind of just on the side. Okay, so what else do I do? Oh, archivist.
Oh, right. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay. I'm looking around. Okay.
Sounds like a huge job.
Here's an example. Yeah. So I work for the family of Elliott Smith, and I handle all the audio that falls under their jurisdiction. So he was on a major label for a couple of records, but everything else is an independent label, or independently owned by the family technically, and then licensed. So I deal with putting things into the archive. I deal with remasters, bonus discs, things, liner notes, like anytime there's a project of any sort that I'm the one that they come to go, what can we put out with this record, or what can we do? And then I make sure everything's in a safe place. Right now I'm actually moving everything from one storage facility to another, which is I'll tell you, the biggest pain in the butt I've ever been involved in.
Oh my
God. And so, yeah, all that kind of stuff, if someone needs an instrumental track for a movie use or something, I'll make sure we have one, or I'll make a new one.
That's incredible.
So it's a variety of little chores,
Yeah, I'm friends with Ashley from Amoeba days when she worked at Amoeba. I worked at Amoeba here in Los Angeles, and we've kept in touch. Every time I go to Austin, we'll always kind of check in and say hi. And, wow. I mean, that's
great.
Yeah,
sister.
But that's a big responsibility. And does that sort of stem from your recording sessions with Elliott at the time? Were those tracks you'd already had, or were you holding on to material at the time, or how does?
Not really. What happened was Elliott helped me build the studio. So Jackpot in 1997 was always going to be my studio technically as an owner, but Elliott was going to build the exact same kind of studio, like a 2-inch 16-track analog. And so some friend of ours, which I can't remember who, I thought it was Rebecca Gates from the Spinanes, but a friend of ours caught us at this club called EJ's used to be here, and said, "You guys need to talk." And so
you're both going after the same goal here. How do you? Two people can row the ship further.
Yeah, and I think especially because I think he was he had an album, Either Or was about to come out like in a few months. He knew he was going to be touring. He'd just done a tour with the Heat Miser, their final tour. He had a lot going on, and I think he was kind of like realizing he didn't really have the facilities to pay rent and utilities and keep everything up. Back then you had to write checks for everything.
Yeah.
Elliott was not in his head, he could organize an incredibly complex song, instrumentally, all the parts, everything, vocals. But, in his personal life, he was a little bit, he just left things undone because he was focusing on music. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
There's nothing weird going on. He just wasn't focused on that shit. And I was more of like, I can run a little business kind of guy,
Yeah. Checks have to be there on the first, or else people start to get a little excited.
They do. So that's how we started out, like just working together. And he's like, "Hey, can you help me record something?" And, one of those songs ended up being Miss Misery, which was nominated for an Oscar. It was in Good Will Hunting. And, I got co-producer credit on that because he was gracious. And,
wow.
We recorded more odds and ends, lots of demos that were used for the EXO album. And some songs that were on that, Amity and Baby Britain was recorded at Jackpot, even though I didn't technically record that.
But it was at the studio.
Yeah, I was there that day. There's photos of me walking around taking photos of Elliott and Joanna Balmain and Paul Pulverenti on drums and stuff.
It's so funny you bring up Baby Britain. I was just listening to that the other day. I'm working on a project with a friend, and and she referenced Elliott Smith, and I was like, well, what Elliott Smith are we talking about? You know what I mean? It's like, say, like, like any prolific artist, there's not just one thing, I think there's a sensitivity, there's a kind of feeling that people get, but when you actually come down as a reference or as a technical sort of track or or this idea, I want it to sound like Elliott Smith. I'm like, well, hold on. There's a lot of Elliott Smith out there. Like, you know what I mean? Is this, you with a guitar? Is this you with a whole band? Is this a piano? Is this a thing? Which one are we doing? And I reference Baby Britain as this, like, like there's a complexity here that's just gorgeous. That's, you know what I mean? It's it's Beatles, it's Pet Sounds, it's, everything else, and rolled into this, highly
zombies,
right? Yeah, it was the more English.
Carousel 44 for sure. There's a lot of he always absorbed a lot, and it's funny because people talk about him, and I go through this interview all the time where I'm like, they're like, well, when he got on a major label, his songs got more expansive and blah, blah, blah. Was that because he was on the major label? Like, no, that's what he wanted to do the whole time. Yeah. And, when he had an 8-track reel to reel, which we both had the same exact kind of tape deck back then, a Tascam 38.
Okay, yeah.
And when he was on that, he would try to condense it down and do as much as he could, submix things,
Yeah.
Pictures of Me was a good example of that, which I helped him record vocals for. So he was trying to go bigger, way back, but, and Heat Miser was a full on rock band. He'd already done that too, like big buzzy guitars and fun stuff, faster rhythms.
Yeah.
But when you say Elliott Smith, what do you mean?
Right. Yeah. That's what I felt. I mean,
I say that too.
We've been approached as No Age, for several projects or for different things, like, just make it sound like No Age. And like, well, what song are you talking about? Because again, not to compare us to anywhere near Elliott Smith level, but I think we're more of in an ADD sort of a mixtape sort of band in my mind, at least. Where it's like, totally. Within one record, there's like probably 7 or 8 different colors, and hopefully we're not repeating the same song twice per record.
Oh, totally.
But it's always like, well, what song are you listening to? Like, try to let them lead the conversation. Oh, you're listening to that song. Okay, I know what that song is. Because then I tap in. I'm like, I know what I was thinking when I was thinking that. You can chase the family tree of inspirations down.
Oh, totally. I mean, if you say to someone, you sound like the Beatles, you're like, what is?
Well, again, right? Which is a funny thing, right? Yeah, it's always that conversation. Yeah, which record, which era, which haircuts are we talking about? so yeah,
let's see.
I'm gonna dig back.
A musician too. Oh, we should mention
right,
that, right?
Yeah,
that's how it all started.
Yeah, let's go back to the beginning. That's what I was going to kind of do, is wind back to the beginning. Where does this all start for you? Where does creativity and music and expression sort of bloom into your life? Where we find you?
Well, my mom was a ceramicist. She was an artist who worked commercially too. She sold her stuff at fairs and through distributors and whatever, art fairs. So I saw that kind of thing growing up. And I was around a lot of artists as a kid. And my parents had been, my parents were friends with Doug Clifford from Creedence Clearwater.
Cosmo.
So Doug, Cosmo Clifford, and we'd go to his house and I'd play with his kids and stuff.
So were you growing up in the Bay Area? Is that where this is?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, totally. Okay. Yeah, totally. And then we moved out when I was a little bit like 7. We moved out to Nevada City, California. Where there was a really good art scene, and there was like a really good radio station. So when I was in high school, I got my broadcast license. I took a class.
Oh, wow.
Me and some friends, and I used to sit in on radio shows with these guys that played really crazy underground music. So I learned a lot from these 2 guys.
Are these hippie parents or sort of beatnik parents? I mean, what sort of generational?
My folks were older, so I was born in 1963. Okay. So my parents, my mom was 21 when I was born. So they were, and my mom came from Texas. My dad came from California.
Okay.
And so they were a little older than the hippie kind of generation stuff.
But was there a beat sort of Kerouacian sort of vibe, or no, just kind of an agrarian creed of,
Well, my parents had traveled a lot before they met. My dad was in the Merchant Marine, and he'd been all over the world. And my mom had been a road manager for a Spanish dance troupe that drove around the continental U.S., for like a year or something, and played everywhere. And so she was doing, stage managing and driving the station wagon around and ran into a lot of really crazy racism and shit in the South, because she basically, the Spanish dance troupe was really a bunch of gay Puerto Ricans. So
Incredible.
to the ignorant people, they looked like the N word, all
sure.
sorts of nasty shit. My parents were awesome. My dad's no longer with us, but my mom was awesome. My dad was awesome. And they really had seen the world, which was really cool. That kind of leads to a different sort of upbringing, I
was going to say, yeah, I mean, what a great basis for that sort of thing of like, the world is your oyster. Anything you want to do, you can accomplish. It sounds like these were people who are not afraid to strike out on their own and support an independent spirit, I would imagine. And even, but I'm thinking too, just moving up to Nevada City, that's like Grass Valley, that's Truckee, that's up there, right? Which is very hip and cool now. I don't know if you've been back recently, but there's a
couple years ago,
scene, happening around there.
I don't really know what's going on there, but people like Joanna Newsom came from there and stuff. So that's obviously Jonathan Richmond was living there when I was in high school.
Oh,
I'd see him walking down the street. Yeah, like
my
friend goes, "See that guy?
Yeah,
he invented punk rock."
Yeah.
And so it was cool. It was a good place to grow up.
Amazing.
I'm gonna move this.
Oh, sure.
My pop screens suck. Okay. But yeah, I really, I had a cool upbringing and it was a lot of stuff about the arts. I learned, obviously I messed around with ceramics as a kid and all the way through college. And I went to college, got an art minor and a degree in filmmaking communications, which I was interested in at the time. And I was making, in high school, we had an electronics class, and I made little boxes that went bleep, 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 and sine wave oscillators. And I built a little passive mixer, and I started recording stuff into cassettes.
No way.
And putting out cassettes and stuff. I got a cassette label when I was still in high school. So, I was doing all that. I found Op magazine, which was really important back then. So I started looking for weird zines, even when I was like 17, 18. Maximum Rock and Roll was on the radio, so you could pick up that. I met Tim Yohannan a few years after that,
That's incredible. But yeah, I mean, that Radio Shack sort of culture, there was the outside of, like CB radios, but even just, do it yourself sort of, thing was very much part of the culture there too. I mean, it was not an unusual play to have a soldering iron and some spools of different wire.
Oh yeah. I was in my driveway, like etching circuit boards and stuff, it was crazy. It was caustic chemicals and it was nuts. And my dad taught me electronics. He bought me like a little bell and a battery and a switch and stuff when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
It all kind of made sense.
That's amazing. My dad was an electrician, union, big construction electrician, but those were some of our few bonding moments at home as, he'd get a little black box and we'd wire it up and we'd draw the circuit out on a piece of paper. He'd have a little legal pad. Here's the circuit. Here's what we're going to do. And then he would do all the soldering, but he'd show me and like, okay, now here comes the LED, the red light, and like, boom, press the button, the light goes on.
Yeah.
And we could add, a switch. We could add, nuts, put a speaker in there, swap it out. That kind of nuts and bolts sort of stuff definitely helps demystify some of these boxes with all the switches in. It doesn't seem so scary.
I think the big thing is like you said, demystifying because nothing, like they had, like when I was in high school in the late 70s, I guess, personal computers were coming out and they had some there and they taught us basic, how to write code in BASIC. And even machine language, which I could never master. Like just not being afraid, like I think back then schools had really good budgets and we had a whole department where people were like rebuilding their cars and stuff down the hill from the school. Right? Shop classes. Yeah. It was cool, man. Yeah. A lot going on. And so, you just tackled things as you saw necessary. And so, yeah, sure. It sounds preposterous to say I was like a teenager with a cassette label, but it really was,
And it was stuff that you were bands you were recording or it was mixtape
it was just the bleepy noises that I was making. And then a friend played guitar, acoustic guitar. He'd come over and I'd record him and we'd make these jokey songs and things. And I'd go over to people's houses with the stuff and we'd record something or other. And, if someone's organ had like a drum machine on it or something, we'd record some of that and do things.
Yeah, the bossa nova.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So it was just like just mucking around, and I didn't take that part. Like I took about a month of piano lessons, and that was it. That's as musical as I ever got back then, in a traditional sense. But
there's 8 notes and they repeat. Keep going,
Yeah. I was just mucking around. I bought like a Casio VL1 when they came out. Things like that. And then, I went to college. Near the end of college, we started a band called Vomit Launch, my friends and I. And we ended up sticking around for about 8 years, and we put out 4 records, and we played with everybody. We played with, you wouldn't believe the bands we played with, because it was all like Nirvana opened for us, the Magnetic Fields opened for us, Cake opened for us. Like, it just goes on. All these things. We played shows with Dead Kennedys, Can't Prevent Beethoven,
That's
Replacements.
wild. And this was still in
It
Nevada
was
City,
nuts.
or where was this? Where were you there?
Chico, California.
Chico, okay.
There's like a horrible college town there.
We've played there. I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So and you're setting up shows at bars, at community spaces, or just everywhere? Houses? Like, where are these shows?
We were playing anywhere. Yeah. Parties, houses, bars. We got our power turned off on us the first time we played a bar. We just wouldn't stop. Yeah. And then I had a friend that had a nonprofit liquor license for his theater troupe, so we could rent a hall and then put on shows there.
That's awesome.
So I would do that kind of stuff. I've always just pushed ahead, just do it.
Yeah.
I started a zine back then too, like 86. I had a zine in Chico called Chico Hell. And I had friends at Tower Books magazines, so I could get it distributed through there. It's just always been like that.
So I can see where the seeds are of what is to come. I love these parts of the stories where you can kind of see this happening. Where printed material, electronic experiments, live shows happening. Kind of.
It's always That's always been my life. That's always been my life, is just doing stuff.
Yeah.
So like a lot of my friends from Chico moved back to the Bay Area. A lot of us were from there. And some of them started working at a record distributor called Systematic that Joe Pope from the band Angst had, another SST band, as we were talking earlier. And then that sort of morphed into people working at Revolver Distribution, and then there was also a magazine called Brave Ear that one of our friends moved down and became the editor. It disappeared after a while, but it was kind of a political music magazine.
Well, that's cool.
And we wrote for that. Me and Lindsay from Vomit Launch, we both wrote for that too. And then our friend Greg opened a studio, who was living in that house with the Brave Ear people. Greg Freeman from Pell Mell.
Whoa.
And The Call. He actually had been in The Call for a little while. And so he opened a studio. That's where we recorded our records and the first 2 records.
Wild.
So it just kind of went on like that. It was all these. The multitude of connections that go on in my life are ridiculous. And when I meet people, like when I went to talk at a college here lately, like a community college, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I realize I start talking to all these people, and some of them are even closer to my age. And I'm like, every single one of these people is holding themselves back, by not doing, They're like, there's some sort of permission they're waiting for, or getting something perfect or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like,
tell me about that. Like, how does that manifest with you, or how did that first, what were those seeds?
I got no filter. No.
Zero fucks given.
I think in my opinion, it's more important to put out something flawed and put it out and then do the next thing than to wait and try to do something perfect.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. Sometimes that's bit me in the butt, a little bit, but, I'm not precious about it, because I've listened to records that are so rough and messed up that I really enjoy for my whole life, that I don't see if that's how it has to be, I'm fine with it. It's not about sonic perfection or something. I like to make records that sound really good.
Sure.
I shouldn't say this as a producer, engineer. I will make a record and I think this sounds really good. It's hi-fi, it's clear. But if something is if it's got some quality that's good about it, I don't care. Fine, great. The world can enjoy it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's gonna. I think, okay, here's my main problem. My main thing I think about is that I don't worry about the marketplace. I worry about art. So that's if important. I'm looking at this, if I'm looking at this stuff and I go, this is really good music. Oh, it was recorded on a boombox in a hallway. Who cares? Put it out.
Yeah.
It's not going to find. I know it's not going to find a giant audience, and I know it's not going to reach millions. Like, that's fine, because things that turned me on when I was young were not reaching millions of people,
Yeah.
so
Well, I think it's so important too. I mean, one thing I've hit on with, I what am I? I'm at 43 this year, and started playing guitar at 12. So I've got however the math works out. But I was jamming with a friend last night, and he's like, I'm sorry, I'm not very good at guitar. I was like, that's not the point. That's not why we're doing this. If you were good at guitar, you wouldn't be here. If I was good at guitar, I wouldn't be here. We'd be living someone else's life. Like, I've been playing all this time, and I'm still waiting to get good. As I keep playing, and every time I learn something, I learn more what I don't know, and that's part of the fun of the experience. Yeah. I've enjoyed being bad at guitar for more than half of my life, because it is just, if I ever felt like I actually got good at it, I would probably stop, or you know what I mean. I'd be bored.
It might be a different path. I mean, when I think of people like someone like Steve Vai, I'm like, they're actually a very curious individual who really does want to learn all kinds of shit, and he works really hard at it, and it's like, that's totally fucking awesome. I could never be that person.
I don't want to be that person, right? You know what I mean? To the point, not only could I not, but I would, I wouldn't know what to do with it. It's that kind of thing. Like, if somebody gave me a Ferrari, I wouldn't know what to do with it. You know what I mean? I was like, I would just, I just don't have that kind of brain of a technical proficiency, but I enjoy the, like, I don't know. I enjoy all the rough spots, and I've gotten to the point too where I feel more comfortable of the, like, just trying to play out of my reach, you know what I mean? And the amount of bad notes I play, and I imagine this happens with everybody, that, like, people that are good at stuff, they do more, and if you do more, you make more mistakes. So if you looked at just the number of mistakes, you think, oh, this person's terrible. But you look at the number of successes, and that outweighs the mistakes. It's just the amount of, if you're prolific enough, if you put out enough stuff, your wins are going to eventually it's like the whatever, casinos, you know what I mean? Sure. They lose sometimes, but they win a lot more than they lose. And I think with any project you're doing, if you just think of yourself as the casino, if I just keep going, if I don't stop, I'm going to win more than I lose, and it's going to work.
I mean, look at it this way. Like I told someone the other day that I said, you agree that Dolly Parton's an icon? And they go, well, of course she's an icon. I go, name me 10 songs she's written. Yeah. Most people can't. Yeah. Even if they're deep in the music, they're like Jolene and a couple others, and you're like, okay, so what we look at when we think someone has a career or something is really just an amalgamation of, like, things. Like, okay, how many full length studio albums does No Age have out right now?
We're at 7, I think now. Yeah.
Okay, so that is a big number, and people look at that and go, next record, they're going to be like, on their 8th release, No Age goes for this blah 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 blah. Sure, the critics say whatever the fuck they want because they're idiots. I can swear in this.
Oh, please, yeah.
Okay, good. I'll keep fucking swearing. Yeah. All right, so they're going to say that kind of shit. Sure. And but the thing that matters is that you have 7 albums out, and that's the weight of that statement. It doesn't matter that 90% of the people writing a review of album number 8 coming up are gonna be like, have probably not heard 6 of those records, or something. Sure. But the fact that you have those records out is what matters.
Right.
So, like, back catalog, even if it's undiscovered back catalog or unlistened to back catalog, is actually like your resume and stuff something like that. So
yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So like, honestly, that's what always blows my mind when I'm working with someone on a record and they're like, I just got it. Email, and I don't want to throw anyone under the bus because these are my clients. Sure. But someone's like, I've been working 6 years on this thing, and I'm like, oh,
this can't be good.
I've never worked 6 years on a record. I can guarantee you, I have no interest. Maybe a solo record if I ever got something done. That'd probably take me 10 years. But I'm not looking at it like, and I would not make a record of traditional songwriter stuff either myself. Yeah. But I think that the way people look at culture and arts and stuff is sort of a cumulative career. So that if you can say, like, they've done 40 tours and they've put out 7 albums and they've done, they say all these different things and these numbers are what matter. And, many times people can't, especially with indie type bands like we've been in, people can't even name a single song.
Right.
might have seen you play and they go,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I think now more than ever, the power of a picture or of one video means more than it ever has in the past. You know what I mean? I think, I can think of a lot of bands, you just go, that was a really good picture. It's been used everywhere. As soon as you see it, I think, photographer meets band. I think there's a lot of power in that. It always has been that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's nothing new under the sun. And same with video clips, MTV figured that out a long time ago, but in the TikTok sort of, 30-second, 15-second, 10-second sort of attention span, you know what I mean? Is something that just just drills right into your head in less time than you can think about. Why do I like this? You just like it. And it's cemented. You're like, all right, I like the band now. There we go. I'm now a fan. It happens that fast. It's like falling. It's like falling in love. You meet somebody and you're just like, I knew I loved him as soon as we met. As soon as I saw him, yep, it was it. You just know.
Yep, that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, I rarely will watch videos of bands,
live.
At all. Like I won't. If someone send me a YouTube link or anything, I rarely will touch any of those videos because I just don't. I don't like sitting and watching videos.
Yeah.
I'll watch a movie or a TV show, or I'll watch Rick Beato because it's entertaining.
Yeah.
But I really can't sit and watch someone, especially like an MTV like type video.
Oh,
or someone
God.
made
Yeah.
a video to promote. I thought that's what I wanted to do when I was young too. I wondered that kind of work, and now I can't stand it. I really don't want to see it. People will be like, oh, they got a funny video or they got a cool looking video. I'm like, I just want to hear the music and I want to see the band live. And those are my two criteria.
Yeah.
Like a great album is great, but even beyond that, a band that can be entertaining and amazing, in any different way. There's a million different ways that works, but that's, to me, that's the power of it. Cause it's like, I'm not sick of studio only projects, but a lot of music these days feels very studio only, like just sort of like a hodgepodge of crap that people pile up in GarageBand or something, and it's like, there's all these free samples that sound really good and all this shit and virtual instruments. And it's like, that's cute. It's playtime, kiddies. But, to see a band like on a stage, like doing something, and this could be like completely hitting a button on a laptop, but if it's an amazing way of doing it, it's like, it's really cool to me. That's where the power resides,
Yeah, it's still something personal. It's a person expressing themselves through one way or another.
Yeah.
You got to feel the person there. If it's a presentation, if it looks like a PowerPoint presentation, you're like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
I don't need this in my life right now. I need.
Yeah, something. I mean, I saw the Cocteau Twins once play a show where they're all their backing tracks, besides the vocal, the lead vocal, the bass and main guitar, were like on a 4-track reel-to-reel.
Whoa!
And they would just rewind for the encore. They rewound it and they played Pearly Dewdrops again. I was like, wow, that's funny. Like,
all right, one more time from the top. That's incredible.
And it still was mind-bogglingly good.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. I think I've got like a pretty high bar set for what I find, like through the 90s, I just hated so much of the music that was pretty big, like Smashing Pumpkins or Bush or things like that somehow people decided was really cool. Just to me, just sounded like just white noise garbage,
Yeah.
I couldn't care less,
Yeah.
Most music kind of bores me, honestly,
That's so funny. Well, I mean, if you really, you break it down to what the originality is, like you said, the difference between art and commerce, I think is probably what you're hitting on there too, in the sense that like, there's those records were made to sell records. You know what I mean? It's the product that's made to sell the product versus somebody trying to do something actually interesting or artistic, at least the hits that you're going to be bombarded with through the media of it. You know what I mean? Who's to say there's not some deep cuts, but I don't know. Cause I was so turned off by the hit or whatever. I don't need to dig any deeper. It's a rare band that can get you, that will get you with the hit, and then they can back it up with all the B-sides or the deep cuts.
Most even like hit songs by some of these bands from the 90s and early aughts or whatever just sound tuneless to me. Like there's not a good melody. I'm like, my friends were writing better songs like that in their sleep,
Yeah.
I'm just like, I just don't understand that, when someone plays me like Stone Temple Pilots years ago, I was like, Whatever,
Oh,
man.
so
Like, are you kidding me?
the Jim Croce walk, the dun, 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 I have a name. Well,
It's insane, man.
I want to switch to tape op. I'm holding here in my hand.
Yeah.
I've been
Oh yeah.
you know,
There's one.
multi. I don't know if we go over a decade. I was definitely introduced to this early, and it felt early in the career of being in a band or recording music. And someone said, "Do you know about tape op?" Like, what is this? And I basically I picked one up. It was probably in the early aughts sometime, and I was like, "Where has this been all my life?" I got my first 4-track.
It's sitting here.
Yeah, still from 1995. Porta Studio
man.
MK2.
Yeah, nice.
And I mean, that was the day I felt like, there was the day I got my guitar, and there was the day I got the 4-track, and like, okay, now it went from potential to like, oh, this is like, like I can do this. And picking up tape op was sort of another part of that, of that picture, just getting a lot clearer. And like, oh, this is like, like the Bible. Like I grew up skateboarding, and like Thrasher was like the Bible, of the thing. Like,
for sure.
Whatever was happening, whatever was going on in that world, if you gave a shit, it was going to be happening there. And I felt the same way about tape op. And it was a resource too. It was like an educational resource. There was things I needed to know, and and those issues, I was like, oh, okay, what's this compression they're talking about? There's no compression button on my MK2, but a lot of compression was happening. Yeah, exactly. A lot of compression was happening. I just didn't know. I had no control over it.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I had no understanding of how to control it. But yeah, no, just early inspiration, early ideas, trying, hearing people, doing different experiments, trying this, trying that. And it just, it was a huge resource for me, and that's kind of how I've looked at it. And every studio I've gone into, there's always a huge back catalog of it. And,
I'm always glad that I'm glad that studios have them sitting there. I've been proud of what we've done with that. It's funny you mentioned skateboarding because my partner John was also the founder of Heckler magazine.
Oh my God. Okay.
And so when I started the magazine on my own, and then when John came aboard, John had actually recorded the 3rd and 4th Vomit Launch records, and he produced us and put us on his label. Looks like you got someone coming up behind
I have a visitor
you.
in the studio. This is my son Wilson. How you doing, buddy?
Wilson.
Summer break has begun. Can you say hi to Larry?
Hi.
Hi. What are you gonna do today?
What are you doing today?
That's a good answer.
I think we're having a sleepover later.
Yay!
What's up, bud? I'm just going to record for probably another like 15 minutes, and I'll come in and get you guys some snacks. Does that sound good? Are you bored? Sorry, Larry. Give me 1 second.
That's okay.
I want to print out
some more coloring pages. Okay. Well, yeah. I just need like 15 more minutes, bud. Is that cool? give me 1 sec. I'll be right back. Hold on.
Yeah. Oh man. That was funny.
Sorry. Summer break has started here, and we got the camp doesn't start until Monday, so this week is still juggling.
Oh yeah. The in-between weeks. Yeah. No problem.
But yeah, you were talking about Heckler magazine. And
right. So John had started that with his friend Sonny Mayuba. They'd sold it to Transworld, and then they bought it back.
Oh wow!
And then they were like, well, if we got a full staff, maybe we should take on another magazine. And I'd been sending John tape ops as soon as I started them, because we'd spent a lot of time in the studio together. And so John was like, hey, maybe we should work together on this. And because I really wasn't selling ads, and my distribution was about 2,500. And I was like, my credit cards were maxed. So I was kind of like, yeah, that'd be cool. We've been partners ever since. So basically everything else kind of Heckler folded, and they sold it to someone or something, and then it folded. But, Sonny went on to do other projects. So it ended up being just me and John,
That's great.
Working together as partners on it.
But he knows that world of sales and distribution and kind of the business side of the magazine.
He's always been really good at that stuff, like more of a business kind of guy. I mean, not that he's not really full breadth of a person,
sure.
But yeah, he's good at like just keeping things on track and managing and organizing and all that kind of stuff. So he said, what do you not want to do? And I said, I don't want to sell ads.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with printing and distribution and mailing, I don't want to do layout. And he's always been a graphics guy too. He does all the layout.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, it's a good partnership. You know, I always tell people, don't get partners, don't get studio partners, don't have any business partners. And then people go, but you tape up. And I'm like, oh yeah, that one works.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer in benevolent dictatorships. I've seen it work in bands. I've seen it work for venues. I've seen it work in many things. Like, you know, what if one person knows what they're doing and everybody else can have an opinion about it, whether it works or not. But somebody's got to have the final say in it, or else it's hard to get stuff done. You know, if I've been in,
I'm
bands,
the 51% owner, right? So if I'm the 51% owner, I could always just tip a decision. But honestly, that's been, I think, one of the few times I actually utilized that, I would regretted it anyway. So he's a pretty smart fellow, and he keeps me on track for sure. And we just were really good friends.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's almost better that we don't live in the same state, you know, that we just get together a couple times a year and just check in and
make it work. Well, I love that you guys that it's free now too. I don't know if this is common knowledge to everybody, but how long has that been, and how did that process happen?
Since 1999, I think 90. Yeah, that's about right. Because he came in a couple of years after I started. The reason being, it's a pretty good business model, because I think he realized that most of these other magazines like Mix and stuff that were out there at the time, a lot of them that were more professional were actually free. You could go to a trade show and fill out a card. You know, do you own a studio? Okay, we're going to send it to you. You know, so he just kind of expanded that to be anybody. You know, as long as you fill out this survey, then it's requested materials, and you get a break on your mailing cost too. And then you build up the amount of readers so that you could charge a higher rate for advertising. Whereas if you had 2,500 readers like I did at the beginning, your ads are going to be just dirt cheap, and they don't really cover the cost of printing or anything. And if you have, you know, we went right to 25,000 readers with the first issue when John came aboard, issue 11, you know, so it was a big jump, you know, and so the advertising was like, you know, goes up with that. And now we're the highest circulation in the world for a recording music magazine.
That's wild. You ship all over the world. As far as we know. You ship all over the world. And it prints here in the States, and you ship.
But don't do free subscriptions for print editions all over the world, because that's just prohibitively expensive. Right. Okay, But we do PDFs to anybody in the world, anywhere. You got an email address, you can have a subscription.
Amazing.
And then in the US, it's free mailed subscriptions, but no guarantee of arrival, because that would also just tip the bank a little, as you can imagine.
What does that? That just means that you don't necessarily, not everybody's going to get one, but you're on the list.
We won't replace it if you don't get it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Gotcha.
We ship it. It goes out. I could prove that. Yeah. But if it doesn't arrive, then
or you get half a cover, or
that happens chewed sometimes.
Up and stuff. Yeah, but that's just the fun state of the mail.
I mean, the logistics of doing a magazine are crazy, because like people always go, you should offer like a really paid subscription. Well, the paid subscription really only pays for the person to manage the paid subscription. It doesn't actually make us any money. Oh, it should be in more newsstands and stuff. It's like, half of them they throw away and they pay us for the other half, and that it ends up being a minimal amount of money. Like the economics. My mom always goes, she goes, you should just go to subscription only models if you're getting paid. And I'm like, Mom, I'm getting paid. Jesus Christ. Like everybody's perception of the print industry is so off.
Well, it in essence, it was the, TikTok or influencer model before TikTok, you know what I mean? If you have 1 million followers, then you can charge for branded content within your platform. It's the idea. If you get a bunch of people who want it, then you can charge people to, include their ads and the thing that's going out.
Exactly. I mean, it works. It works. It's a pain in the ass every issue to sell all the ads, and most of them, almost all our ads are pro audio businesses and stuff.
Sure.
And some have stayed in there for decades, almost. Like Universal Audio and stuff. But some of them you have to re-up every issue. John's got to make phone calls and harass people.
Oh my God.
And like, well, if you drop out, then your rate's going to go up, that kind of conversation. But, we got a few other ad reps. We got a lot of people working on it in the background too. So
well, that's incredible. I mean, it really is
a lot of people.
I've always really considered it a resource. I mean, it's not only fun to check in and sort of see what's going on, what's new with people and what people are working on, but also just the breadth of, I had an artist in here working in, at the studio, and she's like, what's this? I was like, oh, this is tape op. Check it out. And within the thing, she's like, do you know this woman did XYZ? She's giving me back information. I was like, I know. Right. It's in there. Yeah. I read the article. It's fantastic. Wait till you get to the next page. It gets even better. Or like, it's just it's this idea of like people are doing different things. And I think there's just that fun part of just realizing you're part of a community. And I think it almost in some ways like validated the bedroom sort of recording thing. Before it was a prosumer, before it was, like I say, starting out on 4-track, Tascams, I saw tape op and I was like, there's knowledge in here that I can apply to my little, $100 setup that I have. I got a $20 microphone. I got, whatever, $3 tapes, and I can learn something from this and use, apply this thing here.
I think that, when I started it, I was like, look, records are getting made on 4-tracks, cassettes and released, like an 8-track, reel to reels and things like that. Like that's what the world I was living in was that, and hodgepodging gear together and trying to get the best sounds you could and stuff. And I was like, and I'd look at these other magazines and I'm like, they won't even admit that, basically. And I was like, well, this is ridiculous, like back then Mix would have on the cover, every issue would be like a big studio with oak floors and a gray console. Yeah, huge gray console. Yeah,
and nobody, or very few people can relate to that because no one's ever going to get to put their hands on one of those things.
No, I've still like never worked really in like a super expensive studio generally. I really haven't, like people would be like, oh yeah, an SSL K series, something. And I'm like, yeah, I've never worked on one of those. Oh my God. They're like, what? Or they talk about mics. And I'm like, yeah, I've never used a real one of those, like I still live in this like sort of indie budget world, and that's the world that I see. And that's the world that all my friends were making records in, everybody on Matador and Discord and, all these labels that I knew. Nobody's like going into like, $2,000 a day studios making records unless someone else is paying for it,
Yeah. The biggest studio I ever was in was I got hired to produce a band for Red Bull Records. This was back when Red Bull was throwing stupid money around at musicians for some unknown reason. And they had this giant, professional studio built in their offices in Santa Monica. It was the most insane thing I ever walked in. I'm like, I thought you guys sell like energy drinks. So they're like, that's what pays for this. But this is how, the owner got a bug up his butt and wanted to make a recording studio. So he had this world-class thing with this insane mic locker, and everybody worked there was just like, I'm like, okay, we just get to do this. We just get to use this. They're like, we're happy anybody's using it. Cause I think a lot of people they're bringing in were hip hop acts or were just running tracks, they had stereo tracks in, and then they'd go grab a 58 or an SM7 or something and just, do that. So the room never really got used. The majority of the tracks weren't even taking advantage of it, but it was a band from Colorado that we got in there. I was like, let's take advantage of all of this. Let's go big. And I was even able to hire Pete Lyman from Infrasonic Studios, who we made all of our records with. Pete. Yeah. I brought Pete on in that, and I was like, Pete, I think we can all make a bunch of money here and work on some fun gear. Like, want to come down for the day? Let's see what we can get away with.
Oh, that's crazy!
It was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean that's and the thing about those kind of studios is they did come and go.
Right. Oh yeah, I don't know.
Totally.
I blinked and it was gone, and nobody ever heard the project. Nobody ever heard anything that happened there. But it was a fun day. I've heard drank a shit ton of Red Bull. I was so revved up when I was leaving there. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep for the rest of the night.
I can't drink that shit. I mean there's always like a studio that'll open in Portland. It'll be like someone's like bankrolling it, and someone else has a dream, and they come and they go.
I like how you say that. Someone had a dream, one of those kind of things.
But it's not coming from the grassroots build it up as an angle. It's not a Don Zientara, kind of studio or Steve Albini kind of studio or,
Yeah. Well, LA's full of these things. You throw a rock and you hit one of those. And what's fun with that though, here in LA is now an offer up, if you monitor, a decent piece of gear, you watch it for a few weeks and somebody's going to, I just picked up this Neve from someone who's like, I don't know. My boss was trying something out and he didn't like the way it sounded or something. I'm like, sounds good. I'll take $1,000 off of the list price for that for you. And I'll take it home with you. I'll go meet you at Starbucks and we'll do it right now. Sounds great. Sorry, your boss didn't like it. Let him know it's going to a good home. It's going to get used on a lot of records.
Oh yeah, when we were first putting the studio together, someone had tried to build an all tube studio, and there was all this gear for sale. And Elliot bought a Manly compressor, for dirt cheap because it was like, that guy went under, Never even opened the doors. So, that's the thing. I mean, I keep telling people I want to write a book called "So You Want to Open a Studio," because it's like it really is one of the stupidest things to do. And here I am 27 years later saying it, but I still have lean years. Like I still have years where it really doesn't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
The studio part. Luckily I have a magazine and I have my own production and mixing work and everything else. If I take those out, I'd probably close the studio.
Well, that ultimately hits the root of the hyphenate, sort of paradox or the conundrum. It's like, if one goes, hopefully the other ones don't, if you're diversified enough and still passionate about everything. I think that's the beautiful thing too. It just sounds like, I never really saw the world in a sort of, divided way. You know what I mean? The books I read influenced the music I listened to, influenced the films I listened to, I mean, this type of world, I'd go to a museum, see a piece of art and like, oh, cool. And then, I'm working on a song and this is going to, I'm going to name this song that's kind of they're all mixed together. It was one big sort of creative soup.
Absolutely.
At least once it got to my head. I mean, I understand the world has its own places, but once it goes through my eyes or ears and it's in this mess, this big churning, blender, it's like it's all the same thing. It's all feelings. And
I have like massive irritation with the idea of music genres,
Oh God.
Like it drives me crazy. Like I was reading some interview with Madeleine Perrault, and it's like they keep going, she's a jazz singer. I'm like, she's a fucking singer-songwriter. And she sings in a loose way sometimes. Like, that's not, you don't have to keep pigeonholing her,
Yeah.
I don't understand that. And I just, to me, it's like, there's points, like I went to saw an old bandmates band the other night, and there's like trumpet, guitar, bass, drums, keyboards, and it's like it could sound like a really weird Miles Davis thing, and the next point it would sound like Can or somebody, and then it would sound like just crazy kind of big Hendrix riffs, and I'm like, I don't know what you call this, man. It's cool.
Yeah, exactly. I've always believed, it's not the artist's job to tell you who they are. They're making the art. That's you know what I mean. You listen if you want to know who they are. Listen to the music. That's how you find out who they are.
When an artist says we're kind of doing this sort of like, oh shit, they just labeled themselves. That's crazy. I'm always amazed,
Yeah. I've traveled through enough airports with guitars that I've had to come up with a spiel just to get through, daily social politeness and reaction. But most of the times I just say, we're a punk band. And then with that word punk, then, wherever they come to it, you mean, oh, like Blink 182? Like, exactly. Yep. There we go. We're good. Or if they go, oh, I remember I said that to somebody and they're like, oh, I grew up going to see Black Flag up in the valley when they would play this club. Like, I was like, I want to talk to you. Yes, that's the punk band I want to talk to. Like, but punk in general will kind of flag people like, oh, I don't like punk. Like, okay, Avenged Sevenfold. Okay. Like, no, we're like that. Sure. Yeah, that's fine. We can end this conversation.
Sure, whatever you want.
Whatever you want to do. Just go ahead and send my punk band. And
we'll see on that note, and speaking of your podcast, like, I don't know what to tell people when they ask me what I do.
Oh God, right?
I hate it.
No, you don't have to.
I hate mentioning any of my jobs because it all just leads the wrong way.
Well, now the Zennials have created a new term. You can just say you're a creator. Larry Crane, creator. You're a content creator.
Content that sounds like someone that doesn't do anything to me, but
you get paid to take a shit. I create content every morning. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes.
I filled the bowl.
Yep, there you go. Away. Do it again.
I mean, I really hate that term, and I think that's just, I mean, oh God, but I also hate that idea of divine inspiration, kind of creativity too. The Blake Morgan interview in the new issue is really close to my heart, because he really talks about that. Like no, this is all the result of work. There's moments of like accidental, wow, oh hey, look, I just stumbled across a cool chord, but it's work. It's work, and it's keeping track of what you're writing and coming up with and sorting it out and assembling and building, and everything is work. And it's like, I watched Elliott Smith, like at the highest fucking level, apply himself like crazy to build, some of the best songs. And people go, oh, he was just born talented. Like, no, I've got the recordings when he was a kid. He wasn't, he worked on it really, 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 really hard. And it makes me mad when I talk to artists that are kind of like, just pedaling and not trying to get better at their craft and stuff, because they're waiting for like these moments of inspiration, or they're, I just keep doing stuff. Like I said earlier, and it's like it all kind of comes together. The more you create, the more you do better creations. It's like, I don't know. But on that note, I don't know what to call myself, because I hate the conversation where I say I'm a record producer, and then they go, "Oh, like Quincy Jones." I'm like, "Well, I'm not really like Quincy Jones, not that level."
Just say exactly. I record Michael Jackson records. I arranged for Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
I do all those things.
Yeah,
that's me.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Quincy Jones. It's like you said, like Blink 182. No, yeah, sure, whatever.
Sure.
I hate that conversation. I hate the magazine editor, because I'm still just a complete imposter as an editor. I mean, it's just, I found a way that works for what I have to do. I've edited books like Phil Brown's book and stuff like that, but I just don't, I never studied that. I never studied recording. I never studied editing. I never studied archiving. I'm horrible at FileMaker Pro. I'm horrible at Pro Tools. I'm horrible at every piece of software I use. I just bonehead. Don't understand anything. But, I just know what I need to get done in every scenario, and I can get enough done to get through it.
Well, I think that's part of it too. The virtuosity versus workman like thing. Like I feel very, if you know your tools and you know what they do, that's 90% of the job. And then the 10% is having an opinion based on good taste.
Yeah, sure.
Like, if I have an opinion and then, but again, that's not the whole thing. You can't just get away with it by having an opinion, but you need to know what those tools do. Like the projects that I've had the good fortune to produce, I've always felt like it's my job to first understand what the artist, what the band's hearing in their head, and then use whatever knowledge or skills, that I've accumulated to get what's in their head to come out of the speakers. And the closest I can get to that is the level of success. You know what I mean? Whatever. So first I have to understand, what are they hearing? How old are they? What are they listening to? Where do they come from? Then listen to their band and go, okay, you're going for this. You're not quite, let me help you. Are you looking for something like this in terms of arrangement or whatever, and then in terms of recording it, like, what do you want it to sound like? What are your favorite records? Like, what are the refs you're looking for? And then you kind of find that hopefully it works, or you go above and beyond and you're able to craft something that's unspoken somewhere between the lines. Like, I didn't say this, but you brought in this element that I really love. I was like, I know you do, because you're this age and all your friends are listening to this, and you grew up listening to this. If you listen to this band, that's the cool version of the lame band that you probably started off listening to as a kid. So
yeah, right. I mean, it's so true. And I think the taste thing is highly underrepresented when people talk about an engineer producer or something, because I think, more than 20, I think it's like 90% is my taste. Like, engineering is like a monkey's job. That's just bullshit. That's nothing. Once you learn a few things, there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
But like, is that mic in the right place? Does that sound like it's going to be a good guitar to fit in with those drums to make the record I'm envisioning? And always having a vision is your taste of how the record should come together. And knowing that vision is going to change is also part of the game. But to me, it's just a bunch of opinions, and I'm just steering as hard as I can with people. If I'm starting on the ground floor to the finished record, I'm steering as hard as I can to keep them from all the stupid decisions
Yes.
that ruin records,
Yeah.
and all the waste of time bullshit that I've had to sit through in the past.
Just,
when I didn't have my hand on the reins,
well, you just don't want to be on the nose. That's my always thing. I'm just like, we just landed that. We got that track. It sounded perfect. Everything's in key. Everything's in note. It's the most boring, predictable part you'd ever imagine. That's what everyone's thinking they're going to hear. So how can we, let's eschew it. Let's take it off axis just 90 degrees just to give us something in terms of where you're coming at it from. For the love of God, do something, anything but what's expected. So that's just me. That's just like, we've heard of that a million times. It doesn't need to be heard again.
I mean, I just, lately I'm like, do you need a click track? Can you all play together in a room? Like things like that. Or like mind blowing to people that are kind of assembling projects with bandmates and isolation or whatever they're doing. I'm like, I don't like there's records I like that are made that way. Like I mentioned Cocteau Twins earlier, or Brian Eno or whatever. But, if it's a band, there's probably something you're going to squeeze out of it when they're all playing together. That's kind of cool. Even if you throw all of it away. Lord help.
Hopefully, fingers crossed, the band, can sound like a band without the click.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm really, or if it's a songwriter, I'll bring in a real drummer and I'll be like, I'll play bass and we'll put things down like that,
It's great.
And it's like, to me, that's sort of like collaboration and looking at each other as you play and all that stuff is way more magical than like looking at the computer screen or anything.
Absolutely.
I think, I don't know. I think there's those things that are random chance and little moments that just make stuff way more interesting. And the more clinical we get when making a record, the worse the record is by a mile,
Yeah.
Just I hear like you mentioned sort of streamlined punk rock in quotes, and I can't listen to it, but I could listen to the Clash all day, just like fucking around on Sandinista, but I can't listen to stuff that's just like, 400 layers of guitars all like nitpicked and, just it's like Def Leppard sound far better. Doing the same process. So you missed the mark somehow, you made a shitty, boring record,
Yeah. Well, that can happen. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of, because you look at the reasons why, like, well, because we have a reunion and we're, we need to buy a new, my kids need to go to college, or I need to buy a new mansion, or my last Ferrari broke down. So let's go ahead and make this record. And it sounds like a band who needs a new Ferrari for making a record.
Yeah. It's just, I don't understand that world. And I didn't understand when bands were getting signed up post Nirvana and they were getting all slicked out. And I was just like, what is, and you're like, I remember going to the studio to visit a friend in LA and he's working with this band and they were just a toneless band, like nothing, engaging with their songs. I'd heard them before and I was like, who would even sign this to an indie label? And now they were on like RCA or some stupid label. And they were making some boring fucking record and it was going to sound great and just be completely hollow. And I'm like, what is the point of all this activity, man?
Yeah.
I couldn't stand it, because I'm like, I was up here making Quasi albums or something, I'm like,
my God.
Yeah. Give me good bands and good songs, they're Slater Kinney.
They're doing
that with all these wonderful.
They're doing that Featuring Birds anniversary tour.
Oh yeah.
This summer. So looking forward to seeing that.
And that's, that record was me and Quasi, basically.
Wow.
That was all, the three of us in the studio for days on end.
That's such a powerful record. That's incredible.
Oh, I love that record, man. Yeah. I mean, that's one of my favorite things I've ever worked on. We did it. They're selling a zine at the shows that we did a recent interview, the three of us.
Oh, so
just
cool.
Talking about me and Sam and Janet, just talking about the memories of working on that, because that was like November 97. I'd had the studio for less than a year.
Wow.
And they came in, but you'll see there's a post going up, I think next week. If you go to Jackpot, you can subscribe to a Substack that I put up and it's free.
Awesome.
It's free stories every week, every Monday. And I think next week is Quasi Part 1, where I explain all the prehistory leading up to Featuring Birds, because it's ridiculous amount of everything we've talked about. Connections is all there. Like, I even played out live with them as their bassist at a show and all kinds of stuff.
That's incredible. So, I want to see it. I want to hear it all.
Massive intertwining. Yeah.
So cool. Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go. You're a busy man. Where you mentioned the Substack. Where do you want people to find out more about you, to sign up for Tape Op? What's the easiest way to do it?
Boy, there's a lot of, if you go to larry-crane.com, that's kind of a hub that people don't visit very often, but it's got everything. Tapeop.com, free subscriptions, jackpotrecording.com, the Substack, the studio page. That's the main stuff.
Okay. I'll have links to all of those in the show notes, below. Everyone listening to this, go click those in the show notes.
Yeah. And that's my main stuff. But, the Tape Op and Jackpot are kind of the big things. And just Google me, man.
but not the John Mellencamp sideman, Larry Crane.
Yeah.
That's the other guy.
Oh my God.
I started looking. I know these are two different people, but I'm curious now. Now you've piqued my interest. Who is the doppelganger here?
My favorite thing years ago was I went to McGill. I got requested. Sandy Pearlman asked me to be on a panel at McGill, and Sandy is the more cowbell guy, literally.
Oh, God.
And so I went there, and Steve Albini was on the panel with me, and all these some academics and stuff. And we're at McGill University, Montreal. I'm on this panel, and this professor gets up and he starts going, "Larry Crane might be better known as the guitarist for John Coogan."
Just say yes to all of it. You're like, "Yep, that's me."
I look at Steve, and we're like, our eyebrows just pop up, and he's just laughing, and I'm like, "Oh shit!" And I had to
sucking on a chili dog. Yeah.
I'm like, nope. Little pink houses. That's not me.
God.
And that guy, the other Larry Crane, is a fantastic guitar player. There's no doubt about that.
He's just not you. He's not an engineer.
If you look at all music and Discogs, it's all messed up. And I wish I'd stuck. Maybe I should have stuck to Lawrence Crane, my birth name.
No, coming from a Randy Randall. No, it's that your name's great. I would never complain about your name.
That's true. Good. Okay, I'll keep it.
Somebody just sent me, there was some locked up documentary on Netflix, and some poor man is serving prison time with the name Randy Randall, and all my friends sent me the things, and I've gotten several things. I'm like, oh man, talk about kicking a guy when he's down. First has to be named Randy Randall, and now he's got to do prison time and be on Netflix. It's like a triple whammy.
Oh my God.
Well,
you mentioned having that. You mentioned my parents in the Beat generation. There was a gal named, my mom's maiden name was Adams. So there was a gal named Carolyn Adams who was hanging out with like Ken Kesey and all that crew in the Bay Area when she had just moved out there to marry my dad. So there's articles in the paper where she's getting arrested and stuff.
That's a different woman, not your mom.
It's a very different woman with the exact same name.
Amazing.
Oh my God.
It's amazing.
It was so funny.
Yeah. A sliding doors.
People are like,
it's a multi-universe.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, Larry, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me here. Like I say, I owe you millions and millions of thanks for all the hard work that you've done with Tape Op and all the incredible bands and records you've produced. They've influenced me greatly. Tape Op has been a huge, just empowering resource for me and so many other home recording musicians, people that thought maybe I can do this because I'm reading about it, people doing it on these pages and these records. You birthed into the world, I think have been paid dividends a million times over with just all these great bands and probably 10 bad ones too. But it's all thanks to you and your hard work and your good ear. So I just want to give you your flowers here on this one. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. So much. Thank you.
Take care.
Yes, there he is, the one and only Mr. Larry Crane. Is that inspiring? Don't you want to go make a record? Don't you want to go to Jackpot Studios in Portland, Oregon and make a cool record with Larry? And also, while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to Tape Op. Go to tapeop.com and get your free subscription to Awesome Cool Magazine. And while you're at it, why don't you also head over to larry-crane.com to get in touch with them. You could do, you could take a consulting class, or you could take a class with him. He's got video things up there, mixing, producing. Get in touch with him. And then also go to jackpotrecording.com and, book out that weekend, book out that week. You have what do we got coming up here? Thanksgiving break, winter break. Probably spring break next year. I'm sure he's busy, but doesn't have openings this year. But go into spring break next year, summer next year. That's enough time to write an awesome record, and then book your tickets to Portland and go record with Larry for a week. How insane would that be? And then once you do it, go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate and upload your record to all the digital streaming platforms. I'm telling you, this is possible. If no one else has ever told you this, you are cool. Your music is awesome, and you should make a record and you should put it up to share with everybody, because that's all anybody else is doing. You know what I mean? New music doesn't make itself. It needs you. It needs your effort, your point of view, your emotions, your blood, your sweat, your tears. That is what the world stage needs, and that is what digital streaming platforms need. They live on independent music that's made in cool studios and bedrooms and created by cool people like you and recorded by cool people like Larry Crane. So this is a call. Anybody who's sitting on some cool songs, go record them and then go release them and then send me a link. I want to hear them. You know, I will get to them in between songs like Skibbity Toilet and the latest AJR singles and the one Metallica song that I have to listen to every day on the drive to school. I will listen to new music. So please send me new music. You can write me at what can you do? You can write me at hyphenate@gmail.com. Hyphenate, you know, it's spelled HYPHENATE, hyphenate. I was telling somebody about the podcast the other day, and like, why did you pick the hardest to spell word? It's like, you could just Google me, Randy Randall. That's easy to spell. Or go onto your podcatchers, your pod streaming devices, and just look for Randy Randall. You'll find Hyphenate with Randy Randall. It's possible. Just go in there or use your voice dictation machine too. If you can't spell it, just say hyphenate, and people find it. If you like this show, and if you're still listening to this at the end of the show, I'm assuming you might have liked it. Tell your friends. Tell everybody. Tell 5 people that, one, they should record their music. They should start a band and come up with a funny name, and then go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate, and then they should release it. And then they should also listen and subscribe to Hyphenate with Randy Randall. And their life will just be better. That's how life gets better, is by making more art. The more art you make, the better your life will be. Somebody said that. I don't know. Maybe I said that. Bob Dylan said that. All right. See you on Monday, where I will talk to Aaron Farley about all things conspiracy and teaching and old man topics that we like to talk about on the Hyphenate halftime. And then I'll be back with another cool interview. We'll just keep it going. We'll just keep doing this thing. But make sure you write me at hyphenatehalftime@gmail.com. Let me know how you're liking it. You can also find me on the Instagrams at Randy S. Randall. Go to Ruinous Media for more cool shows and all the fun stuff. Don't forget to book your time with Larry Crane at Jackpot Studios and subscribe for free to Tape Up magazine. You will not regret this. It is a fun one. It's inspiring. Change your life. Why not? See you next time.
Oh, like Quincy Jones? I'm like, well, I'm not really like Quincy Jones, not that level.